trees.
Okay.
And that's where the road is.
Excuse me, I have 7 o'clock, so we'd like to get started here. We want to welcome you and appreciate you guys coming here today. My name's Larry, I'm superintendent, and we would like to thank, we have some board members here. Lorelei Schwartz is our board president. Ken Enlow, one of our board members. Do I have anybody else? Okay, thank you guys for being here. Joe, just start with you. If you work for the district, would you introduce yourself and what your role is, and we'll go around.
Joe Martin, here, your Sloyce Director, Secretary of Education.
Ryan Burns, Director of Communication. Kelsey Christman, always work coordinator.
Take care of
Nation Affairs Director. Toby Sparrow, Communications Director.
Jason Hoffman, Chief Operating Chief Financial Officer.
Gabrielle Whitmer, Manager of Non-Performing Arts Center. Stephanie Sapp, Assistant.
Okay, so thank you guys for being here. So we're going to touch on a few things. Carrie's going to give us an update here at the beginning. One thing I do just want to show you, this is our district logo. You may have seen this. We didn't change our name. We are going by our official name. We're the Jefferson City School District. We've always been the Jefferson City School District. 15, I can't get Dr. Straub or Dr. Kimball to admit or acknowledge that when they started going by JCPS, as in JC Public Schools, but Dr. Straub said it was Dr. Kimball, Dr. Kimball said it was Dr. Straub, so I'll let them on the rest, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're just going by our official name. We wanted to reflect both of our schools as far as with our high schools. We have 18 schools. The other 16 feed our 2 high schools. So the red of JC, the blue of CC, and we're Jefferson City School District. We wanted something that was timeless. We wanted something that was recognizable across the state to become a premier school district. We want to be recognizable, so we got the capital portion that was in a previous logo. The established in 1838 is something we're proud of, and that's what we're working on throughout this year to determine what does that mean to our stakeholders. So we'll ask for some input from you on that at a later date. And inspiring is the third thing that we wanted. So we've had a lot of feedback. You've seen some t-shirts. We're going to make those available to the public. Those are ones that I shoot with the slingshot at football games, and we're excited about that. Carrie, would you come? Carrie Gamford with Architects Alliance. He will give us an update on the renovations at Jeff City High School and the progress and where we are at Capital City High School.
Okay. Morning, everybody. Also want to mention Martha Leahy is here with Napholz Construction, so if you have construction questions, she'd be good for that. I'll start with Jefferson City High School. Overall percentage complete is 85%. It's hard to believe we're finally to that point. But what that means is most of the building, or some of the building is 100%, and some of the building is 65%. So concrete's 88, glazing's 88, masonry's still just at 80%, steel's 100%, doors and frames are 80, tiles 90, terrazzo's 100%. Fire suppression, which is a big one, is 94%. So obviously everywhere the students are now, plus parts of the construction. HVAC is 95, electrical 95. And all 4 elevators are being serviced. There's 4 elevators on that project, 1 new and 3 existing, because of the different floors and what used to be 2 buildings that are now 1. Last month, about $2 million in construction was performed, labor and materials. That's compared to $6 million per month during the summer. So obviously a huge difference when the students are there versus when they're not. They occupied the whole site through the summer, and we're spending about $6 million. Area A and B, Nichols Career Center, 1 floor is done, the other floor is mostly done, and students are moved back into the finished areas. The connector is coming along very well. We call that Area C, that it joins the 2 buildings, and it will really be the high school lobby, if you will. So everyone has seen the Capital City High School lobby. No one has seen publicly the Jefferson City High School lobby and the image when you first walk in the door. So that is yet to come after the holidays this year. It'll be really exciting. Area D is the admin, that's partially occupied. The 2 gymnasiums, Area E, they're well under construction. The had renovations in Jefferson City High School or Fleming Fieldhouse, and there's still some graphics to go in there, so it's not quite finished, but it is occupied. And then the auxiliary gym is being built, which again is the storm shelter for the students. We've gone from 2 locker rooms, 1 male and 1 female, to 4 locker rooms. So both schools have 2 male and 2 female locker rooms. Science labs, area F, they're completed. And then area G, which is along Lafayette Street. Believe it or not, we just had our 11-month, 1-year warranty walk to check all the construction and see if there's something that needs to be addressed within that first year of the building. So construction's still ongoing, and we're beginning in some parts to have 1-year warranty walks, which is kind of cool. Talk about the storm shelter. Still a lot of different companies on site, local companies that continue working on the project. AAA Masonry, Brady's Glass, Harold G. Butzer, Meyer Electric. I saw the other day Meyer Electric had 20 people on site, local firm. Missouri Builders Service, Prost Builders, Questech, Circle Contracting, and Summit Mechanical. So if you know the folks there, thank them. It's kind of neat when you're on the job site, because those local companies are obviously in the community, they're working on the project. Many of them are alumni, so that's really cool to see somebody working on the roof system or the mechanical system, and they're an alumni of Jeff City Public Schools. So the pride they're taking in the work has just been fantastic. Balance to finish, Jefferson City High School is about $8.9 million. Did I get that number right?
For Jeff City?
Yeah. Okay, any questions on Jefferson City High School? If not, I'll switch to Capital City High School. Overall, it's about 93% complete, which again means some areas are finished and occupied, other areas are still pretty rough. About a third of the classrooms have been occupied by the students, or 1 floor of the 3-story classroom tower. Other things that have been completed include the student commons, the kitchen, admin area. Those are all complete and occupied. Areas that are cordoned off, still under construction, include most of the other 2 layers of levels of.
All 3 of the classroom levels are.
We have students in all of them now. Okay. That's the other thing is as they finish things, they're turning them over. So we've always said January everything's done, but there's another section that's coming out pretty soon that's going to be open.
The storm shelter.
Storm shelter will be open soon. So they're, as soon as they can finish, that's actually ahead of schedule. As soon as they can finish an area, we go and tour it, inspect it, do a punch list, and then they occupy. So that's going to continue to happen between now and January. Let's see. Areas that are not finished and they're making other arrangements now are fine arts and the gymnasium's PE classes. So they're either outside or using another space. And frankly, that's the way Jeff City High School has been too. When Band Hall was taken down for renovations, band met over in the student commons area of Nichols Career Center. We still have trailers, and we'll have till construction completes. And remember, we also have temporary classrooms located in the school that will be opened up when the trailers are gone. Capital City High School had as a minimum, it had football and soccer practice fields. With work of the construction manager and the district admin staff and finance staff and the design team, the control of costs has been very good. So we've been able to add in things that we weren't sure we could get. So we've gone ahead and finished more of the field. We've gone AstroTurf, synthetic turf on the 2 fields I just mentioned. Been able to add in 8 tennis courts and a pavilion, and been able to add in baseball, softball. So that's really positive. So, what's that? I'm sorry. Yeah, the field lighting as well. So that's that's neat. Everybody can see that. It's also a reflection of the accounting and stewardship of the funds. By the way, on the sports fields, there is a master plan to complete both of them. I don't know if folks remember, but when the bond issue was passed, we were going to share one in Stadium. And the master plan was to be, you can build into it over the future, whether that's 2 years or 10 years. There are plans after this project to finish more athletic fields.
Don't touch on that.
Okay. Last thing I wanted to say was, we've gotten a lot of feedback on the schools, and I can tell you the best feedback we've gotten is from the students, and it's at both schools. That's really awesome to get the student feedback. So, any questions? Thank
I'd
you.
just like to say that we went to the Missouri Reform Association conference this weekend, and the Sheriff's Department gave us feedback on the way the capital city is designed and said we did awesome on
Really?
that for
Great.
safety and security purposes.
Great. Yeah, and I might say that their reviews, along with the city code officials and the fire department here, has been really good. That's been a daily working relationship with those agencies and the contractors. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kerry. One great thing that I don't normally have this low of voice, but I do it for our forces of some kind. We are on time and under budget, and that's a tribute to all of our folks, from Naples to our architects, to our maintenance guys, to the contractors, to literally everybody, of making sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do, and making sure that we're on time and under budget. So we are extremely excited about that.
And local labor.
And local labor as well. Absolutely. Tremendous part of that. So I've got some things I just wanted to touch on, and I've touched on this before, and it's a reminder for all of us. It was a reminder for me. When you take a step back, you self-reflect. My job is pretty simple. My job as superintendent is to facilitate a culture of collective action. And everyone can define collective action in different, you could describe it in different ways, but at the end of the day, are we rowing in the same direction? And we went floating this summer as my family. We weren't always rowing in the same direction. So things are not as, folks get irritated at each other in my family when you're trying to canoe together. But it's pretty simple, and that is the key, I think, in my role. And that's one reason why we're having this coffee, just to make sure that folks know where they're informed of things going on, questions, feedback. That's an important part of what we do. So here is our vision to be the premier school district in the state. This year's photo was JC 1838 of our staff. When I put that in the middle of my PowerPoint, it locked up my computer. I'm not sure why, but this was in the 15-16 school year. And we had Stronger Together, and JC, we told our staff we're going to do a staff photo, and it was kind of like, why would we do that? My response was, why not? And we walked in at Acton Stadium. You can see the tail of the J. I've shared this before, but it's a little heavy here because that's where folks just kind of congregated. Some of them were doing it kind of begrudgingly, but we got there. So this was, and again, I'll share, this was in August. We had Stronger Together in August of 15. Hillary Clinton came out with her book in November of 15, and then Stronger Together with her book. So we had it first. But I have to throw that in there because there are still people that feel like we are endorsing Hillary Clinton. We're just trying to make it a reality. So this was 16-17, 17-18, JC Strong. That was our staff, which resonated here with the tornado in May. That kind of had been embedded as a community, JC Strong. So we were excited about that. And then JC Reads last year with our staff, with our number one goal that all of our students can read at or above grade level. So we are excited about that, and we feel all these things together, they contribute toward becoming a premier school district. So it is a journey, it's not a destination, but that's everything we're doing. We're trying to work toward it. So our number one goal, I touched on that, is to ensure that all of our students can read. All students deserve that. They deserve the opportunity that come from that, and we believe that it has an impact on everything, from behaviors, from their success in their other classes and their other academics is an important part of that. So here is a kind of a big picture of this, and I've shared this last year, and just kind of a reminder. So our mission is to ensure that our kids can read. Obviously, we want to make sure that the instruction in the classrooms and how important that is. We all know it starts at home, and the importance of partnering with our parents from a high level here, from birth to kindergarten, that learning to read. The research would say by the end of second grade, we need to be able to read, and learning to read. So make sure that foundational and being exposed here from birth to kindergarten, and then really targeted reading instruction K through 2. And so from birth to second grade is learning to read. And then from there, then you're reading to learn. So I'm reading a book right now. If you're reading a book right now, you're reading to learn. And how that transitions from learning to read, and then making sure starting in third grade, catch up where needed. We're making headway here, but it's still an opportunity that we have to continue that are kids that are behind. So that's something that we are excited about with that. Here's just kind of our district-wide big picture of vision to become the premier school district, and our mission is to give every student hope for a better tomorrow. We think through reading, through providing them opportunities to be successful. One thing that we didn't touch on, or I didn't say earlier, our student participation rate this fall compared to last fall is up 43% in extracurricular activities. And that was one of the aspects of the J+C campaign, to give more students an opportunity to participate. Twice as many kids can be involved in science club, football, you name it. They're just opportunities for our students, and we're up 43%. So that is a real number that we are super excited about. This was collective action. I touched on that as we try to raise the bar. And how do we build collective action? So one thing we're doing this year is with our staff. So from this Coffee with Larry, we don't have a lot of our teachers, because they're getting ready for their kiddos in the classrooms, and that's what we want them to do. But we are going to one building a week. We have 18 schools, and with 36 weeks of the school year, we can go to each school twice. This week, actually, we've been at JCAC yesterday and South Elementary on Tuesday, and we basically just go in, meet with all their teachers, and we have big Post-it notes, and on those big Post-it notes, there's 4 different Post-it notes, and then they have little ones that they can put anonymous questions on there, or comments. The first one is, what's going well in our district? So those are always the fun ones to go through. What are the positives? The next one is, what do we need to improve, either at our building or within the district? And we go through those. The next one is, if you were superintendent, what change would you make? And then the fourth one is, what questions do you have for the superintendent? So we literally go through every single Post-it note. We have folks that are recording the responses, and then we provide a written response to every teacher within that respective building. So it has been great. There's been some uncomfortable questions, but we've gone through every single one, and I tell folks they can ask anything, and I'll say, here's the answer, or I don't know, but we'll get back to you, or we can't get into that. So it's been a very positive to help us build collective action at the building level. Community coffee, we're here today. The brown bag lunch with Larry's is something that we did, and we anticipate doing here again. We did that with the J+C campaign, invite folks to bring their lunch to our central office, and we'll just sit down and have lunch and talk about school issues or the bond issues, what we talked about before. The rounding the central office administration and buildings, we're asking our central office folks to be in buildings, and that's what's going well, what do you need help with, and who do I need to recognize being a difference maker. We have a new website, and we should have, maybe shown, I think we showed it last time, but jcschools.us is our new website, and we've had on there an Ask the Superintendent tab that we started when I got here, so folks can anonymously send questions that they have for the superintendent, and so that is still a part of our new website as well. Just building, daily building visits. I put on here driving a bus. I'm not driving a bus this year. I have other things that I think the board probably has an expectation to ensure that I do with my job. So I did get my CDL last year and drove a bus. I wanted to put myself in our bus driver's shoes, and I did. It was a learning experience, but it's something that I'm not doing on a regular basis because I've got other things I think the board expects me to do. Faculty council. So we brought back, they kind of previous administration or superintendent, that had a representative from each building, and they would meet monthly. And so we brought that back, and it's been really good. This is my 5th year here, and we were asking folks along the way, what's working, what's not. They're a representative from their building, and we're asking them, what are the concerns in your building? So we're working through that, and it's been very positive. Jason came this week, we talked about our school calendar. So it's October, preparations for what the school calendar looks like next year. So we're gathering staff feedback and input of what that looks like going forward. The community focus groups, we have a variety of those. Citywide PTO, those are just some different options that I just kind of, you do different things, and until you kind of put them down to see, hey, what are we doing? It's a good reminder for all of us and how we want to build that. So I want to just review. So in the spring of 17, we went to the voters, and you guys supported that, J+C, and we say thank you. We had a consistent theme throughout the entire time. 1, we were out of space. Number 2, we wanted to give all students an opportunity to reach their potential. And 3, we felt it was time. So there was a lot of different parts to it. The first time I presented to the chamber, I had 800 things going, and I was going a mile a minute. Afterwards, Jay Whitenberg from St. Mary's came up to me. Cap Region. I might get in trouble for saying that. Mine. Thank you. She came up and said, Larry, do you have a second? I said, I did. And, she said, I love your enthusiasm. And she goes, I think to be successful, you kind of narrow that down. Because I had a lot of different things. And so from that, and through input from folks, we narrowed it down to these 3 things. So throughout the entire campaign, we had 107 staff, parent, community presentations for feedback. Those were our 3 keys. And so we felt that was a contributing factor on why it was successful, of just having a consistent theme. And but at the end of the day, it was you and our stakeholders of why that was successful. So it was a team effort as we went through that. So Capital City High School came from that. It opened this fall with grades 9 and 10. We will add a class each year. So this year's 8th grade class at Thomas Jefferson will be freshmen next year at Capital City, and then another class and so forth. So it's a phase-in approach. I've been asked even this fall, why did you only have freshmen and sophomores? A couple things. 1, schools that added a second high school have found that if they just said, draw the line in the sand, and then 4 classes that would be there, students that have been, let's say here, that have been a part of JC, K through 11, and then their senior year, they have to go to a new high school. Some didn't want to do that, and schools that had done that, it wasn't very successful because here they'd been a Jaybird and they wanted to graduate. So a phase-in approach. Another part of it was just the timeline that we had asked our architect to go by with our large freshman class, of it being completed by this fall for 4 classes was not possible as well. So that's the reason for that, the phase-in approach. There's pros and cons, we recognize that, and we're working through that. I touched on the student participation. After we have 4 classes at JC and 4 classes at Capital City, they're going to be similar size. We're 2,600 kids, 9 through 12 last year is the largest high school in the state. You split that down the middle, 1,300 at each now. It will vary. Lewis and Clark and Thomas Jefferson enrollments have fluctuated as far as being very similar. Right now, Thomas Jefferson is a little bit larger than Lewis and Clark, but we anticipate similar size schools. Again, we want all our students to have the same opportunities, regardless of which school you go to. Activities and athletics. So having this fall, all sports and clubs at Capital City are in varsity competition except football with freshmen and sophomores, and we did that to ensure the safety of our kids. We did not want our freshmen and sophomores going against juniors and seniors. Next fall, it will be in varsity sports across the board. The Central Missouri Athletic Conference will start next fall with Capital City, Jeff City, Helias, Sedalia, and then the 3 Columbia schools of Rockbridge, Battle, and Hickory. So that will start next fall with varsity sports in all activities. So, Carrie touched on with the athletic facilities. So, when the 107 community presentations, we would have practice facilities at Capital City. And most folks were okay with that. Folks have either forgotten that or they weren't paying attention. because folks that came and said, what, are you finishing the stadium? When is it gonna be done? So this is the capital city. Fair question. If you remember, if you've been in the community, Jefferson City and Helias shared Atkins Stadium for many, many years. Helias has been blessed in a great complex with their stadium. They no longer share Atkins Stadium. But we said throughout the campaign that Capital City and Jefferson City would share Atkins Stadium. And that's been the plan. Have practice facilities in Capital City. Excuse me. With that, as Kerry touched on, plans to have that phase 2 at a later date. And whether that was going to be 2 years or my sister retired from Rockridge in Columbia, and I remember telling her that we're having plans for 10, 15 years down the road for phase 2, and she kind of looked at me and she said, I can assure you that the Capital City folks will want their competition facilities a lot sooner than 10 to 12, 15 years. So it's right now. I've been asked this, when is it going to be done? I was asked 2 days ago by parents. And that's fine, that's great, but we're also wanting to ensure that we are being good stewards of patrons' money as we consider options moving forward of what that would look like. So, Kerry touched on, there are practice facilities at Capital City for all sports except tennis, and that is for competition that they are finishing right now. Currently, JC goes to Washington Park, and it wasn't the most safe situation for our student athletes, for our schools. So that is something that we kind of moved forward with that, and we were able to do that. If you've not driven by there recently, I encourage you to do so. It's literally right there at the intersection of Mission and 179, as you can see. And I drove by there last night at 7:45, and they were working on it last night. So they're making progress on that to be able to use this spring, so we're excited about that. With that being said, we also have, again, from having 2 schools, opportunities. We want all of our students to have the same opportunities regardless if you go to JC or Capital City. So we do have a phase 2, and we had, starting last September of 18, what would a phase 2 look like at Jefferson City? So Kerry had worked on plans for what that would look like to have it within our own campus at JC, like they have at Capital City, and was working on that. The unfortunate incident of the tornado in May, and we were contacted, Jason gave an update here last month, we were contacted by some property owners next to Atkins Stadium and asked if we had any interest in purchasing their properties. So that's something that we proceeded very slowly, but with a quick but don't hurry, but making sure, understanding the sensitivity of the community and what that would look like. So we have purchased some of those properties and have some future plans of what a phase 2 would look like at Jefferson City. So again, students have the same opportunities whether you go to JC or Capital City. So that's something that we are excited about. We have an open house scheduled on the 12th of January, so you can put that on your calendar. JC is from 1 to 3 p.m. and Capital City is from 3 to 5 p.m. on January 12th here after the first of the year. Yes?
I apologize for interrupting. Some school stuff that I
Good.
didn't get to. As of this point in time this morning, to revisit your point with that athletic facility,
Mm-hmm.
as of this point in time,
Yes.
what is the plan for constructing something so that Cap City kids can play on Cap City football?
Right now, so we had, today is Friday, so Wednesday evening, we had an outdoor facilities committee that we've met again. We have those plans, and it's not been determined right now of when that phase 2. We are considering financing options. I will touch on here, we still have K-8 space needs and prioritizing space needs at our buildings of classroom instruction versus athletics. So it's not been determined, to answer your question, but there are plans for that, and the timing of that, we're working through that right now. We talked to Kerry here as we look at what our costs to address our space needs at K-8, which I'm going to touch on in a second. But if you got to leave right now or shortly, you may not hear that. But it's not been determined, but we're going to give an update here at our October board meeting of where we are as far as currently at this moment.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'll go to the next slide. So Jefferson City High School, continue to raise the bar, build upon those traditions, the renovations. the new Jeff City High School. Carrie gave an update on that, and we are super excited about that as well. So it's going to be awesome. I shared last month here. You go to Capital City, there's a bit of a wow factor, and you go to Jeff City, and you go through a door that's down by the dumpster. It may not have quite that wow factor. So that's something that working through, we're excited about, and that's not going to be the main entrance. But we appreciate the patience of everybody as we work through that. So here's some just current topics. School buses. So we touched on this with the change in start times this year and a tiered routing system. We had our school buses is still a work in progress. Jason, would you give just a 80,000 foot view that it's making headway, but we know it's not everything completely perfect, but you want to give an update?
No, I think that's exactly right. We've made a lot of changes, how we're transitioning at the secondary level, the elementary routes are going, I think they would all say that way better because they're the first year, so they don't have to wait. So the secondary, that was all new, and we did have some bumps at the beginning. I think it's a lot better, and we're still working to get better. This is actually our last year of our contract with First Student, and so we met last week. So we're working on our RFP to put out on the street and bid out those services. And we're also evaluating if it's better for us to bring that service in-house and us operate our own transportation. So a lot of work happening in the bus area.
Appreciate your patience on that because we know it's not perfect, but we are making headway on that. So our start times so far, our attendance is up compared to last year. Our secondary schools start at 8:40 at Capital City and Jeff City, and at 8:50 at Lewis and Clark and Thomas Jefferson. All of our elementary schools start in 14 minutes at 7:45, and so having some consistency with that, we feel good about where we are with that. It's educating folks, getting feedback. I have conversations all the time with parents, and I've had parents that just absolutely love it and thank you. Others, like I still trying to get my daycare worked out and etc. So we're working through that, but trying to have conversations along the way. So our K-8 space needs. So when I got here in 2015, we shared that it was shared with me that we have space issues K-12. And there have been considerations for one big high school, a second high school, a new East Elementary, a middle school for down the road in Old Summit, Bighorn Drive, an elementary school down the road, just a lot of considerations. Trying to prioritize what that would look like. We, as the Board of Education and the Long Range Facilities Committee, took to the voters for a second high school, J+C. And we addressed the space needs at 9 through 12. We still have K-8 space needs in our schools. So what would those options look like? So we have a facilities committee. We have met 8 times, and we have looked at the data, look at the enrollment of our schools, look at how our demographics are changing as a community. My first year teaching was at Jeff City High School, and our poverty rate was 25%. Today, it's 60%. So because of that, the increase in poverty in our schools and our community, the needs of our kids, there's more needs than there were 25 years ago. So what does that look like and what are those needs? So considering options to address the K-8 space needs that we still have, you could build a middle school in Old Summit. You could build a new East Elementary. You could put an elementary school at Bighorn Drive. You could work through some variety of options. And we looked through those options. What we are looking right now, consideration, we've not taken a formal recommendation to the Board of Education. We will give an update at our October board meeting. Was a consideration of a 5th and 6th grade building, one behind Lewis and Clark and one behind Thomas Jefferson. We are not looking at raising taxes for our community. They supported J+C, but anything we do would be a no tax rate increase. If we did a 5-6 building behind Lewis and Clark and a 5-6 building behind TJ, it would make our elementary schools K-4. They are currently K-5. It would make both of our middle schools, which are 6 through 8 right now, it would make them 7-8 buildings, and then have a 5-6 building behind Lewis and Clark and behind Thomas Jefferson. There are a variety of parts for that. Number one is we're not raising taxes, or not raising the tax rate of can we do that. Our buildings on making them a K-4 4 instead of at K-5 at the elementary school. We have preschool needs, and with an increase in poverty in our community, we feel that will continue to increase at that preschool level. So we could potentially have preschool in each of our elementary schools. We've shared this with the principals, and they're very excited about that possibility with preschool. And then additionally, if you took a 5th grade out of the elementary schools, you could potentially have a transition room for students that are maybe not being successful in the regular classroom. We have a transition room at Moral Heights that's been successful as we are looking at students from a behavioral standpoint. How would that work? And our elementary principals have said they would like to have something within their own building if they had the space. So you could have preschool and address your behaviors in a K through or pre-K through 4 elementary school. Both your middle schools, which are 6 through 8, if you take the third of the kids out, you have a lot more options in those buildings for transition rooms, behavioral-wise, within those buildings to reduce the enrollment in those schools. So that's a consideration that we are considering. We already have 5th grade teachers. We already have 6th grade teachers. We talked about a new East Elementary School. East Elementary is our 2nd smallest elementary school right now. So it is not our greatest need as far as overcrowded wise because of renovations that we completed in June of 15 at East. And then we also changed some boundary lines with Moral Heights, 4 and East that alleviated some of the enrollment pressure at that building. So that is a consideration. It's not official. That's just a consideration as we look at it. So to touch on the needs, I am saying, I've publicly said, we have a greater priority to ensure we have positive learning environments in our classrooms. That is more important than our athletic fields. Our athletics important, tremendously important. To all of us, they have been a big part of my life. But at the end of the day, we need to address our space needs there. But we know those are real, and we know that it gives kids opportunities, it gives them hope for a better tomorrow. So it's an important part of the equation moving forward. So we'll give an update at our next board meeting with that. The outdoor facilities I touched on there earlier, the phase 2 in the properties west of JC. We have an equity council. We want to work stronger together. Kudos to Shelby. We meet once a quarter, and we're trying to have real conversations with a metric to measure our success based upon is our staff better reflecting our student population. And we're gaining there, and we are excited about that. We'd like our staff to better reflect our student population. So that is kind of our one major metric as we look at growing our own, other opportunities to become stronger together as a community. Student behaviors and poverty. This year compared to last year, our office referrals are down across the district. Are there still issues? There are, but we're making progress there. And we're excited about that. Still have a long ways to go, but we feel good about that. Simonson, Jason, you want to give an update on Simonson?
Yeah, we're still working with the insurance company. They've given us an estimate of what they say it will take to bring it back to the condition it was prior to the tornado. We think that number needs to be higher. So we're negotiating. We think they've left some things out. We don't think they've estimated some things properly. So we're just in negotiations. And then just trying to think about what are we going to do with the building. So no final plans there yet.
Bob Weber, before he had retired as our director of facilities, had gotten estimates. I asked him if we want to have kids in that building for the next 25 to 50 years, what renovations or updates would need to happen. And they were estimated at $5 to $6 million. That was prior to the tornado. So at the end of the day, a building that was built in 1903 that's been a big part of this community for a long time. We got to weigh the pros and cons of how much money do you put into a building that's 116 years old. So we will give updates on that, but that's where we are. Stewardship. So are we being good stewards of patron resources? We have 3 pillars of learning, partnerships, and stewardship. We are still spending less than even after the bond issue, less per student than the state average. And we try to prioritize, number one, based upon student achievement and making sure that our kids are learning in the classroom to give them hope for a better tomorrow. So this is a quote I have before I think the last thing is just questions. If you could get everybody rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry, any market, against any competition at any time. So that's a quote that I believe, And at the end of the day, are we growing in the same direction? So, had some things that I've touched on before, a few new things, and I just kind of wanted to remind some things on where we are right now, some up-to-date things. So what questions do you have for me or any of our staff that might be here? Okay, yeah, Jane.
I thought this was really beneficial. Only question I have for you is to get more information like this. How would I find out about this type of meeting? Do you do this quarterly? Do you do this monthly? Because I think this is informational and I like to get the word out pretty well.
Great question. We do it the first Friday of every month. We do put it, I mean, obviously not enough, to make sure that all parents, patrons,
We have channel on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, or Twitter. Usually we'll go it 2 or 3 times throughout the month at the same time. On our school website and calendar. And we have other public events that we have to get into. So social media, website, YouTube is what we do.
but looks like there's what we're currently doing. We probably need to do a little bit more, or if you weren't aware, or you are now, we appreciate
Do you have suggestions?
Yeah, I guess let folks know.
I'll brainstorm with Brian or somebody.
Okay, yeah,
So that's okay.
yeah. Appreciate
No
you
worries.
sharing. Any questions?
I do have something, it's not on any of this, which this was very informative, thank you for that.
Yeah,
I have been to a couple of the Lewis and Clark PTO meetings here lately and talking with some of my coworkers, and the communication that we have, there is a lot of different avenues of communication. And like, I have kids in both junior high and elementary, and it's hard to keep up with everything that the teachers are throwing at us and the district's throwing at us. There's like 15 outlets for you all to communicate with us. I mean, we have Remind, we have Dojo, we have Parent Portal, we have something new called Peach Jar. Then there's the classroom that the students get stuff on. There's something called Class Tag, the district websites, emails, texts. What I'm hearing a lot is, especially when it comes to information on the students, like if the teachers could have one main portal that they can contact parents with or provide information on homework like Remind. Instead, I'm having to go to, and other parents are having to go to like 3 different sites to try to find out what's going on with the kids and their classes. So if we could narrow it down a little bit to, and I know that everyone signs up for the texting and email alerts and all that stuff, and that's their choice. But if the teachers could all use one main thing to relay this stuff, because then not only do you get the email and you get, like in Remind, let's say you also get a notice from Remind, you also get the email from Remind, and then it's also in the parent portal. So if it could be narrowed down to where we're not having to go to 8 different places to make sure we're getting everything.
that's a fair question. I mean, it's a fine line. You try to, because not everybody has
Yeah, you're trying to help everyone get
what
all
we're
the
trying.
information.
But with that being said, I appreciate that. Do we have Ryan, Gary, Brian, Shelby, any, Jason, of how, I appreciate you sharing that, and maybe we need to take a look at that, because we need to be consistent and we don't want 18 different things folks have to look at. Any,
I would say that does exist to some extent. You know, each individual teacher, their classes can review, remind me, you have that English parent portal. And I would say they try to experiment with parents and what's the best way that you like to be communicating with, pinching it up with a clever platforms.
Yeah.
So, but doing it.
And I think you've made it clear that teachers need to have a communication plan with parents, but we haven't told them how to do
Yeah.
it. We've just said, you need to do it, and so that's why you get some dojo, some Remind. That's it.
we've asked all our teachers to greet kids every day at the door, have an engaging lesson with a clear objective and assessment to measure that progress, and 3, a communication plan with every parent or guardian. So, as Jason touched on, what does that look like? And different folks like to be communicated in different ways. So that's something let's take a look at how we're running that at the building level to, if it can be simplified while still having multiple opportunities. That's something I appreciate you sharing. Then we can take a look at
I
that.
would say too that our new district mobile app, which is
just add to it.
But
There's 19, not 18.
Yeah, I know.
we haven't gotten to phase two, we have the capability of that mobile app to integrate with the campus portal. And looking at allowing teachers to use the mobile app to send messages, so they would have, you could access the grades, you could access lunch vouchers, you could get all of that in one place. We have to do some copying and learn on our end, so if there's some concerns. Campus portal is very secure, and we want to keep it that way for a reason, because we have a lot of student data. that's
Sure.
But we do have the potential that we can sync that up, and that could be a tool that if we were going to allow or encourage all teachers to use one platform,
Yes.
we could use that for that purpose. So if we ever get to phase two, I have your business card, I
Yes.
have our last one.
Yes.
And reach out to you and.
Fabulous.
feedback on that.
All right.
Thanks for sharing.
Uh-huh.
On a positive note, that I would say I have a child in both high schools.
Yeah.
The campus portal has been extremely effective. The only communication that, and maybe I lucky with all the teachers I have, but that's the only way to communicate with us. And so,
You have one in each, Capital City and Jason.
and so it works very well in both high schools as well. And maybe that's the idea of having, I don't know if it's possible, communicating to the parents about what these things. But I don't know if it's possible or not. Through campus portal.
But it would be pretty cool if we went that.
Sure. So Jay, can you stand that, a house divided can stand? So,
Yeah, I find myself buying shirts for both kids from both schools.
There we go.
So they can support each other when they go. So it's interesting.
there we go.
Yeah.
Interesting dynamics.
For what it's worth, we're a technology company, and I'll tell you, in our technology company, 100 people, we're supposed to be the experts. We have the same issue. We have people say, wait a minute, what's the gold standard communication platform? Because you literally, we have to communicate with internally 24/7 with each other, and we struggle with multiple platforms because this works better for this group, and this works better for this group, and so trying to get that is a challenge. But hopefully, maybe we can see some of those
Yeah.
more single focus.
Okay, we'll stay around here. Our folks, if you have any questions, we appreciate you being here. And we're just excited about moving forward. So thanks for coming out this morning, and we'll see you next month. Thank you guys.